one way to do it is to just break it down into really small, achievable goals. Like as simple as just moving to break even quickly or whatever. Those are the sorts of things that you can do. And then you can see it working. And then you can build on it from there and add to it.
Two traders, Darren and Walter, pull back the curtain on profitable trading systems, consistent money management, and profitable psychological triggers. Welcome to the Two Traders Podcast.
Welcome to Two Traders. It's Walter here, and I've got Darren on the line. Hello, Darren.
Hello, Walter.
So we're going to talk about this idea of how do you become a good trader? What makes a good trader? Is it something you're born with? Is it something you learn? And how do you deal with the hindsight bias that creeps in as traders? These issues are tricky, and I think sometimes, at least when I was first starting out trading, I thought, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe it's just like, because everything I'm doing, like everything I touch turns to coal. Like every trade I take is a loser. Like, why don't I just take the opposite? Like, why don't I just sit down, look at the charts and go, okay, I really want to take a buy here and then actually take a sell, you know? Why don't I just do that? Because that would make money, it would seem. Yeah, so what do you think? I mean, can anyone learn how to do this? Or do you think it's a special type of person?
I don't think anyone is a good trader. And I think if you look at any research that's done on cognitive biases, we all suffer from them, and they all will be negative in a trading type endeavor. And we've just all got them to different degrees. So I think we all generally come to trading as bad traders. And it's a question of whether you can find out what your issues are and build systems and processes to deal with them. That is going to put you on the right track. Still, it's no guarantee that you're going to make it as a trader. And we know that by the fact that, you know, there's a lot of intelligent people learning to trade. They've got the information. We've all got the same information generally. Now with the internet, it's pretty much available to all of us, and very few people end up making consistent or large gains trading. So I don't think in general humans are good traders. And I think even if you learn the elements you need to learn, there's still more to it than that.
Yep, and that makes sense. Let me ask you this. What would you say to this? Like, for example, what if the key to trading were that you had to determine the style of trading that works for you? In other words, let's say, for example, one of the traders that has difficulty making money is the one that says, you know what, this whole thing is rigged. These guys, the insiders, they know what's going to happen. They know about the earnings reports. They know about the unemployment. These bankers are talking amongst each other and fixing the rates. You know, the whole LIBOR scandal and all that. You know, this is all insider stuff, right? So that's why the little guy can't make any money doing this. It's all rigged against the little guy. The big dudes, they've got it all worked out. So what do you say to that? Like, what I would say is, well, okay, then what you need is a system that basically leverages that idea. If your whole belief is that the big boys are the ones that are running it, then is there a way that you can look on the charts and see what the big boys are doing? Okay, then use that. You know, that's the kind of thing I would say. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It's about locating opportunities. It's about seeing and visualizing opportunities in the way that price moves. And there's a myriad ways of doing that. And if something is being rigged, then there will be evidence of that in the way that price moves. And therein lies your opportunity to either play along with them or go against them. You know, it's about having imagination and the unique vision to find those opportunities. And I heard someone say the other day that most edges lie in the places that other people aren't looking. And most of us are looking in the same areas and reading the same information. And I think it's those people who kind of step back from that and have got the balls, if you like, to say, well, I'm not going to believe that. I know everyone says that's true. Well, I'm looking at the charts and I don't see that. Actually, I see a much greater opportunity doing the complete opposite to that. So I'm going to go out on my own and I'm going to, explore my own ideas and build my own system and stuff what they say in the book and stuff their rules. And, I think those people eventually are the ones who make profit. On the other hand, then, there's people that go and work for funds and banks that are taught a particular way to trade and are very, also very successful. So many different opportunities. It's really difficult to sort of say, well, this is the white paper on how to be a successful trader. But there's definitely some traits that seem to appear in everyone that it does eventually make money from trading.
Yeah. So what do they do? Like, I mean, like, some traders are saying, it doesn't make sense to take a trade without having an opportunity to make the maximum amount of profit from that trade. In other words, I use trailing exits. I think trailing exits make sense. Trailing exits allow me to take advantage when the market really makes a strong move and goes far away from my entry price. And if I have a set profit target, I'm not allowing myself to do that. So, that's another way to see it.
Yeah, well, I suppose really there you're saying, the way I'm going to make money over the long run is by ensuring that I have some very big wins. And that is a proven way to go about trading. And if you can do that, and if you can watch some trades come back, nice profitable trades come back and stop you out, and if you can sit through periods of not winning at all, then it's been proven that approach works. And generally what happens is people make that decision and then fail in the execution and apply it and not sticking to the process.
Yeah, so I guess what we're saying is, there are many different ways to make this work. If you kind of identify your approach or your beliefs, you can work off of that, leverage off of that, and create your system and your strategy the way that you're going to trade the markets. But what kind of person would not be likely to be able to find a trading system that fits and makes money? Like, what would that person look like then? If we're saying that not everyone. And I'm not sure that I'm saying this, but if you say not everybody can make this work, and I suppose I would have to agree with that, yeah. What's the type of person that would not be able to make it work? Who are we looking at here?
Well, I think we're looking at all of us to a certain extent. I think some of us have the bad habits in a much greater extremes than others, but I think generally all of us, suffer from impatience, suffer from greed. Those cognitive biases that, become really apparent when you start to trade, that perhaps beforehand you don't really consider as a person. You just think that it's your personality. You don't really break down your personality and say, okay, I'm particularly impatient, or I'm particularly bad at saving, or whenever I get paid, I just go and blow it on stuff that I don't need, whereas really I should be saving a bit. You don't really have any reason to sort of stop and self-analyze yourself. And I think when you start trading, then you can do that, and you can start to see which are your really bad habits, what are the mistakes that you're making over and over again. It's really only when you start self-examining yourself you can break those things down and do something about it. But I think that is everywhere. I don't think there's just like a small percentage of people out there who are just bloody good and so there you go, there's the charts, get trading and they're going to make money. Because I think this is part and parcel of being a human being. And those mistakes and errors are part and parcel of human beings trading for profit.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's a fair point. I guess the point would be that I would make is, what do you do about it, right? That might be the defining feature. Is all right. So because I'm likely to say someone with impulse control issues is probably going to have a hard time trading. And the reason why is because that person's going to want to take revenge after losers. It's going to maybe get a little bit wild. Isn't very precise in how he or she executes trades. And it could get a little bit crazy. But to your point, it probably is going to be the better traders are going to be those people who are self-aware and are trying to come up with a solution to the issues that they've already identified. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, exactly that. And it's very simple to do. I mean, we've all done it. You design a system, you backtest it, you see what the expectancy is for that system. Then you trade it live and you make errors. And generally what people do then is they've had bad results, so they then start again with a new system. And the simple thing to do is to take notes. journal your trades, make notes of the mistakes you made, why you made them, when you made them, do a specific set of trades, say 100 trades, and then at the end you've got a record of what your mistakes are, and then you can say, okay, I clearly have a problem with taking profit early, so on this next set, then that is something I need to do. And then you can build systems within your trading system to stop you from making those errors. So if your error is taking profit early, you build some sort of rule-based system you have to walk through before you take profit. And within that, you can have ways of saying, well, basically, point one, are you taking profit early? Point two, is this where your system said you should take profit? Very simple things like that just kind of stop you and allow you to make some rational thought before just making an impulse decision. And simple things like that can make you a more rounded trader. It's not going to make you a successful trader because, you need a unique idea to come up with a system with longevity, flexibility that's going to make profit over the long run. And that is another skill in itself. But learning to be a disciplined trader and follow some sort of systematic approach, that can be done just with journaling and planning and time and effort, trial and error.
Yep, absolutely. And you want to reward yourself when you do what you're supposed to do. Reward yourself, keep it going. And one thing I've learned is that it's even easier to make it a habit, to make the successful habit stick if you start really super small, just super duper small. So for example, let's say you're trying to get to the point where your trades aren't losing money. Okay, so let's say that's what you're trying to do. Okay, so what if you do this? When you take your trades, you move your stop loss to break even after it goes whatever, 20 pips in your favor or whatever. Let's say you have a 100 pip target. You're looking to get 100 pips out of the trade, but you move your stop loss to break even after it goes 20 pips in your favor. Now, what's going to happen there? Well, you're going to get stopped out at break even a lot, or maybe you put it at plus 1 pip or whatever. You're going to get stopped out at break even a lot, but also what's going to happen is you're going to reduce the number of losers you have. So those trades where the market went 20 pips in your favor and then fell back down against you and stopped you out, those aren't going to happen. And, your average losing trade is going to go down too. I mean, I know if you add 1 pip, it's a winning trade, so it's going to reduce the average winning trade size technically in your stats. But, you can look at those as losing trades or trades that never happen. So all you're really trying to do here, you're not trying to hit it out of the park. You're not trying to make 100 pips on every trade. All you're trying to do here is get to the point where you're doing one thing that's enabling you to get closer to your goal, which is to defend your account, keep the money in there and not, don't bleed money out of your account. Or you could do other things. You could do things like, how about you only take trades when the market closes in your favor? Okay. So so for example, let's say you're looking at taking a buy trade, right? So you wait for the next candle to actually close as a bullish candle before you take the trade. Or just these little tiny steps that you can take. It doesn't have to be where you want to be in the end, but by making them really tiny little itty bitty steps along the way, then you can build up from there. And I think this is a really good way for people who are at the point where they feel like, this is crazy, it's not working, what do I do here? One way to do it is to just break it down into really small achievable goals, like as simple as just moving to break even quickly or whatever. Those are the sorts of things that you can do, and then you can see it working. And then you can build on it from there and add to it.
Yeah, I agree with that, definitely. I mean, if you're going to learn to ride a motorbike, you don't go straight onto a 1000cc, you build up to it. The only thing I'm kind of a little bit wary of there is when you start out judging your trading on whether you're making profit or not. And you need to also give yourself a bit of credit for being able to follow a process. Because I think, you could trade a system for quite a long time and lose money, but actually learn a lot about trading in that time if you followed your process and you were trading well. So just kind of be wary of always beating yourself up just because you lost money. And even good systems will lose money. So there's kind of two sides to it, really. There's there's your process and how you execute the system, and then there's the system and improving the systems bit by bit to go from something that's making small profit to larger profits. There's kind of those two sides, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree 100%. With the traders that I've worked with, we spend 2 days talking about this exact thing, which is how do you set yourself up so that you are focusing on the execution and not the end result? Because I believe you're absolutely spot on, Darren. If you're focusing on the result, if you're focusing on, oh, I made money, or whatever on that last trade, that's not the issue. That's not going to get you there. That's not gonna work over the long haul. What's gonna work is focusing on whether or not you did the right thing given your rules. That's it. It's all about execution, and you should reward yourself for execution. You should ignore the results, because let's face it, Darren, if the next trade you take is a loser, are you gonna change your rules for your system?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. If the next 3 trades are losers, are you going to change the rules of your system?
Highly unlikely, Walter.
Yeah. So that's the whole point, right? I mean, the whole point is it's all about the execution. And so if you can set yourself up so that you're rewarding yourself for execution and not, and disregard results. Now, obviously, you want your results to fall in line with what you've seen historically, and you expect there would be certain parameters and boundaries and all that. We talked I think we talked in the last episode about when do you shut it down. Obviously, that's part of the deal. But really, what you should be doing as a trader is focusing on the execution. So the other thing that kind of goes with this, Darren, is talking about the types of traders that may or may not make, types of people that may or may not make good traders. What about this idea, this concern that people have, and they think, I can't believe, I did that on the last trade, where this thing where we beat ourselves up. We've got hindsight bias. We know what happened on that last trade, and we got out too early. I can't believe I got out too early on that trade. I could have had an extra 370 pips had I stayed in a little bit longer. What do you say to that? Like, how do you deal with that?
Well, apparently the best way to deal with it is to let yourself feel bad about it. And is to beat yourself up about it and say you broke the process, and that's resulted you in losing money one way or the other. And you should sit back and feel really bad about it and let that feeling dissipate into you, rather than trying to correct it by actions. Because what people tend to do is when they do that, then they instantly make a series of mistakes, and they compound and get larger and larger to the point where it's such a mess that you can't really deal with it anymore. So I've always been told that the best advice is, when you do make a mistake like that, is to sit back and feel bad about it. And then going forward, you need to build some sort of structured process where, if it's a mistake you make very often, where you've got some checks, like a checklist in place, which is going to help you deal with that until you kind of retrain your mind to kind of see those moments in a different light.
So I think that's interesting, because I think what you said, I think men are more prone to that in general. I think men are more likely to go, all right, I made a mistake, there's a problem here, I didn't do the right thing, and so now I'm going to do X, Y, and Z and fix this and blah, 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 and we'll make sure this never happens again, or that kind of approach, whereas women are more likely in general to go, have you ever had that experience where you're trying to fix something, like there's a woman in your life and she's like, blah blah blah, and you come at it with a solution. You come at it with like, oh well, this is what we'll do. We'll do this, and that. It'll get rid of this, and like she's still not happy. it's because she wants to actually. She's kind of like, look, I don't want you to come at me with a solution here. I want a shoulder to cry on. I want someone to, I want to feel bad about this and kind of grieve or whatever it is, or be sad, or, this is the sort of thing that they want. They don't really want you to come out, okay, well, we'll fix it. We'll fix it up. We'll do this, this, and that. And I think that may be part of the reason why I've noticed that women often make better traders, is they kind of, just like you say, they just kind of wallow in that, and they kind of just experience it, and they're not so fast to jump right up and go, okay, well, all right, that's it. This is what we're going to do, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to, because what you're saying is, by experiencing the feeling, it kind of drives it home, and that's much more likely to be an agent of change. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yes, definitely. And I can't really comment on the male-female thing, because I've only really known a few female traders. I know you've worked with quite a few, but I find that the next action you take is really important, and your gut instinct is for that next action to remove the negative effects of that mistake. So that might be, jumping straight back into a trade that's not a valid entry, and even if that wins, it's already causing troubles, because you're teaching yourself that following your process isn't important. So even if you have a lucky outcome from that bad process, there's not many positives to that. And the other thing would be, say, getting back in with a larger position size, something like that, where you'll try and remove that bad feeling through an action, whereas you're much better to actually let yourself feel that bad feeling. You learn a lot more from that than you do trying to act it out.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because it sort of dovetails in with the research on people who have had really bad experiences. So, say there's a child in the family and they had a horrible experience. The families that don't talk about it, the families that just kind of gloss over that and act like it never happened, the child's much worse off later in life, it turns out. Whereas those families that are open and talk about the experience and talk about whatever happened, whatever it was, they saw some murder or whatever happened, those children are much more likely to be better adjusted later on in life, which I find interesting. It's kind of associated with what you're talking about. It's a similar idea.
Yeah, I think on a positive point, I can't believe I did that moment it seems to happen much more when you're starting out trading, and it is fairly easy to reduce the amount it occurs. When you're in the moment, it feels like you're never going to do it, but with practice and trial and error, you can reduce that effect, and it does really get quite easy after a while to be more process driven. I'm not saying that everybody gets there, but it's not such a massive hurdle as it appears at the time. When you're months on end of repeating the same sorts of mistakes, it can seem like, I just haven't got the right setup psychologically to be a trader, and it can feel like that and a bit daunting. But it is actually quite easy with some simple sort of processes to eradicate a good majority of those errors.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what are there some that you found to be more useful than others, or? Well,
I think first and foremost it's accepting you've got a problem. It's like the alcoholic thing. Once you've accepted you're an alcoholic, it's much easier to give up, as long as you're in denial about it. So as long as you're blaming your mistakes on, that was because of that news release, and that's because of what was happening on the 4-hour chart and I didn't check it. As long as you're doing that, you're never going to get over it. So the first thing, is finding out what your problems are. Usually the mistakes you're making all the time are really glaringly obvious, and you kind of cover them up. And that can be, simply just by writing down a series of trades over a week or over a month, what you did, what the outcome was, what you were supposed to do. It soon becomes glaringly obvious what your problem is, and then you can actually focus on it and just build some simple checklists that come into play at the times when you make your errors. And then you just have to follow that process for a period, and you kind of retrain your brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
They do it in the medical profession now, and you think about airline pilots. Airline pilots don't need to be told what to do every time they go in to, fly you off on your holiday. They've had years of training. They've done thousands of hours of flights. They don't need to be told what to do. But they have found that if they have a checklist, then less errors come in, and it's human to make errors in process. And simple things like checklists can make a huge difference. And like I said, in the medical profession, they found simple operations where they've reduced the mortality rate massively just by having checklists for how doctors wash their hands and simple things like that. So writing lists, writing rules down, writing things down full stop can be a really powerful tool. And if you're not using it, you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage.
Yeah. So just to clarify, Darren, so you're on the side of maybe trading isn't for everyone. There might be some sort of people that it's not really something that you should be doing, or you probably won't be able to make it work, and that in general, the better traders are the ones that are kind of, and I agree, are basically working on identifying their faults or their issues and then coming up with solutions and ways to overcome them.
I'm not sure that I'd say that there's only a certain group of people that can become successful traders, because there's just like such a broad span of opportunities, of ways that you could possibly trade. So I don't think any particular personality makeup is necessarily going to be negative. I think you could make it, certain people are just really good at scalping, and certain people are really good at holding trades for a long time. So I think everyone can make it work, but it's a question of whether you go down the right path and, look at yourself, find out what you're good at, and whether you can apply that in a way that generates an edge in the market. And I don't think that everybody opens their mind to that possibility or goes down that route and they try and kind of hammer away with just sort of pure intelligence or just by working on a system of trading. And so I think those people probably are less likely to make it. But I'd hesitate to say that it's only suitable for certain personalities.
Right. Yeah. And that's fair. I guess what I would say is, if you're approaching this in a way where you're saying, look, so-and-so is making a lot of money trading, I'm just going to do what he does, or I'm going to do what she does, that's not long-term. You're not going to find long-term success there. Instead, what you want to do is go look at different things, expose yourself to a lot of different ideas, and then the one that jumps out at you and you go, okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah, I see that in the markets. When I look at the charts, that's exactly what I see. I'm going to do that. That's really what you want. You want to get to the point where you identify with an approach because it matches up with what you believe and what you, quote, see on the charts if you're a technical trader. But if you're just kind of trying to find like the best dog in the dog pound and the cutest dog, and you say, well, that's the dog I want, that's the one right there, because you think that trader is the best trader, that's not gonna, I don't think that's gonna help. I really don't. I think that's the path to kind of churning through different systems and different mentors and different ideas and all that. Instead, what you really want to do is you want to find something that resonates and makes sense. You go, yeah, I really like the way Darren trades. That makes sense to me. I'm going to do what he does. Not because I think Darren is the be-all, end-all, but I'm sure he's great, but it's because what he does makes sense. What he does, that fits. That's what I see. To me, that's really where you want to link up with a system or a community or whatever it is, a book or whatever it is that you're using to kind of to advance your trading. It's got to be the one that resonates with you because it makes sense to you because you see the same thing. It's not about, oh, well, this trader, he took $5,000 up to $500,000 in the last 13 days, so I'm going to do what he does. No. That's fine. And maybe he did that, and maybe that's great. That's wonderful. But that doesn't mean that that you're going to be able to make those same decisions, right?
Yeah, you've nailed it there. It's your belief system is going to be a large part in your success.
I really appreciate it, Darren. Is there anything else you want to leave us with before we shut it down? Because this has been a good one.
I think we've covered it all there, Walter.
Great. We will see you next week, Darren. Take care.
Cool. Yeah, take care, Walter. Bye.